You know, some of the most profound truths in history didn't come from a book or a lecture. They came from a simple conversation, a back and forth between someone seeking answers and a master who had them. Today we're going to dive into one of the most incredible of these encounters ever recorded, the story of a brilliant student named Ajita and the deep, searching questions he put to the Buddha.
So it all kicks off with this really cryptic riddle. It sounds kind of intense, right? But this one sentence is the key that unlocks a whole path to freedom. Before we really get into what it means, though, you have to understand how this whole conversation started. Because here's the wild part. It didn't begin with a spoken question at all.
See, Ajita wasn't just some casual wanderer. He was the top student of a very famous teacher, Bhaveri, and he wasn't about to just accept that this man, the Buddha, was enlightened without some proof. So he comes up with a test, a series of questions he decided to ask, not out loud, but telepathically, directly from his mind to the Buddha.
And just check out how specific this test was. Ajita silently thinks, how old is my teacher exactly? What family does he come from? What are his special skills? And then the clincher. He asked for the solution to that riddle his own teacher had given him. What is this head, and what does it mean to cut it off? I mean, these are things you just can't guess. The Buddha couldn't possibly know this stuff through any normal way.
And what happens? It's incredible. The Buddha just nails every single unspoken question. He says Bhaveri is 120 years old, that he's an expert in the sacred texts, and then he drops that bombshell of an answer. The head is ignorance, and it must be cut with wisdom. Right then and there, Ajita knows. He knows he's in the presence of a truly awakened being. The test is over, and now the real conversation can finally start.
So, now that Ajita is totally convinced he's talking to the ultimate source, he starts asking the questions that really matter, the big ones. The ones that aren't just about his teacher, but about all of us and the very nature of our world.
His first real question is just massive. He looks around at the world and sees, well, a mess. He sees confusion, people chasing things that don't make them happy, this kind of darkness that seems to cover everything. So he asks, what is this? What is this fog that's trapping us all?
And the Buddha's answer? So simple, yet so profound. He says the world is covered by avijja. In English, we call that ignorance. But we're not talking about ignorance of, facts and figures. This is a deep, fundamental blindness to the way things really are. It's like we're all trying to navigate a forest in a thick fog. That, he says, is the root problem. Okay, so Ajita's next question uses this amazing metaphor. If ignorance is the fog we're walking in, what's the glue? You know that feeling? The sticky quality of life that gets us so tangled up in everything, that binds us to this endless cycle of wanting and not wanting.
The Buddha points to one thing, tanha, or craving. This is that relentless thirst, right? That constant wanting, the desire for things to be just a little bit different. It's that itch you can never quite scratch, and it's the glue that keeps us stuck, always reaching for something else, never feeling truly content.
Ajita's following this logical thread perfectly. If ignorance is the fog and craving is the glue, well, what's the ultimate result? What's the biggest, most dangerous thing we face because of all this?
And again, a single, powerful word from the Buddha. Dukkha, suffering. And listen, this doesn't just mean physical pain, like stubbing your toe. It's that deep, underlying feeling of stress, of anxiety, of dissatisfaction that something is always just a little bit off. That feeling, the Buddha says, is the greatest danger of all.
Okay, so at this point we have a pretty clear diagnosis of the human condition, right? Ignorance, craving, suffering. But Ajita's not done yet. I mean, knowing the problem is great, but what about the solution? He's about to ask the most important question of all. How do we fix this? He asks, how can we possibly stop these constant streams? You know what he's talking about. The streams of wanting this, hating that, the confusion that just seems to flood our minds all day long. It feels overwhelming. How do we stop the flood? And the Buddha lays out this beautiful, crystal clear two-step solution. First, he says you have to build a dam. That dam is sati, or what we call mindfulness. It's the practice of being present and aware so that these streams don't just sweep you away. But that's just step one. A dam only blocks the water. It doesn't stop the river. So for step two, you've got to go upstream to the source. And that's where panya, or wisdom, comes in. You use wisdom to cut off the flow right where it starts, so it doesn't even become a flood in the first place.
So Ajita is right there. He's at the very edge of the final piece of the puzzle. He gets the problem, he gets the path. But he needs to know, where does it all lead? What's the destination? What's the goal of all this work? He asks, where does it all just end? Where do the mind, the body, and all this suffering finally stop for good?
The Buddha gives another one-word answer, the culmination of the entire journey, the final destination, nirvana.
So, nirvana, that's the end of the line, the ultimate goal. And it's not some fluffy cloud paradise. It's described as the unbinding, the cessation. It's the complete and total end of the struggle. It's when the fires of craving, hatred, and ignorance are finally and completely extinguished. It is the end of the seeker's path.
But listen, this story doesn't just end with a definition. The impact of this conversation, what happened next, is just mind-blowing. It shows you the power of these words when they're truly heard.
1,000. What is that about? That number represents the sheer scale of the transformation that happened in that very moment. Guess this. As they were listening to this conversation, not only did Ajita himself become fully enlightened, but so did all 1,000 of the disciples who had come with him, all at once. A single honest conversation, a sincere line of questioning and answering, sparked 1,000 minds to wake up. What this story really shows us is the incredible power of asking the right questions. Ajita started off just trying to test someone's knowledge, and he ended up with total freedom. It proves that the path isn't really about already having all the answers. It's about having the courage to ask the essential questions. So it kind of leaves you wondering, right? What's the ignorance you need to cut through? What's the most important question you need to ask yourself today?